This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports. You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host Keith Angle on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Where's my music? Good morning, everybody. Keith Angle for TGI Sports Talk. Are you serious? I'll be joined by my co-host, Mad New York, for just a couple of minutes. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. We actually had a Thanksgiving week here, and I am turkeyed out, pumpkin pied out. I am just out. So give us your help today and help us along this hour. We'll talk a little NFL. We'll look at the games yesterday. Special teams continue to be atrocious around the league, and my New England Patriots were certainly a major transgressor there yesterday. We'll look at the other games. I want to talk a little bit about the 6 and 7 teams in the league and who are for real and who might as well pack their bags to go home. We'll get a little bit of college football in. Maybe some NBA. Carlos wants to take me down that NBA road. I'm having so hard a time getting into it. Jeez. And with some time, maybe we'll talk Major League Baseball. Who knows? If you guys eat up our time and Carlos and I debate enough, maybe we'll never get past the NFL. Who knows? But without further ado, let me bring in my co-host, the Mad New Yorker, Carlos Chavez. Good morning, Carlos.
Good morning. How's it going, Keith?
It's going very well. I hope you and your family had a good Thanksgiving holiday.
Yeah, most definitely. I'd like to thank my sister-in-law, Miss Morales, Jessica Morales. She did a good job cooking up some Thanksgiving dinner. So we all got to go to the Bronx and relax for a few hours.
I've had too much turkey this week, man. The tryptophan's a real thing. For the scientists who want to tell you it's not a real thing, I am a case study. Watch me eat and fall asleep. I suppose maybe that's anything, but turkey seems to do it more than anything. But it's been a great week. Been a great week here, too. Busy day in the NFL yesterday, obviously with 3 good games for the most part. Important games in the NFL standings. A lot of college football news. One of my favorite coaches is in the news, which we'll talk about a little bit, whether he's staying or going. And who knows? We'll go wherever else the hour takes us here. Let's start with yesterday, Carlos. You're one of your teams, the New Jersey Giants.
Yep.
Looked great. First half, defense played well. Second half, though, too much Dak and the wide receivers, and the running game is just really good for the Cowboys. And Daniel Jones continues to play okay. He's got nowhere to go with the football. Nowheres.
Yeah. There's a lot of injuries for the Giants. Before the game even started, before even the week started, they're already calling people guys. A lot of players out. Good morning, Dave. And so as far as that team being able to go further than what they're going now, it might be a stretch, but I've never had too much confidence in them doing good this year, and so because they don't really have they have an okay quarterback, and then even if Daniel Jones was going to be better, besides Barkley taking the full load of running the ball, who are they going to pass to? Either they got a wide receiver who doesn't want to play or doesn't play well, and then they got a bunch of young guys who are who are highly rated coming out of college, as wide receivers, but they're not playing, and then they got rid of their rookie from last year, so they don't really have too many tools to work with. So, I didn't expect much from them.
They really didn't commit to the run and Barkley a lot yesterday. Now, maybe the second half circumstances.
They have to run him, though.
Well, you can't when you're, 2 touchdowns behind. It's hard to keep running in the second half. Mm. The fact that they came out of that second half so bad, and if I'm not mistaken, Dallas scored on their first 3 possessions of the second half, and that was the game. Giants scored a late touchdown, but this game, wasn't as close as 28-20. So maybe that dictates what you have to do with Barkley. I don't know how much they get involved in a passing game. Now, again, Daniel Jones made a couple of mistakes. when they were still in the game, they had a big third down, and he went to Barkley in the flat and threw a really bad pass that Barkley could have caught, but he had a turnaround, and it was low. That's where Daniel Jones has got to be better. You got to deliver that ball so he can run a little bit with it. That's how you got to get Barkley involved, is in space, right, where he can run with the football. And they try to do it. And again, we can't just – they weren't out there on the field alone yesterday. This is a really good Dallas defense that they played against yesterday as well. So kudos to the Cowboys, and Giants just got to kind of figure it out and where to go with the football, which brings us kind of to Odell Beckham a little bit. He's supposedly going to make his choice between these two teams. I don't see any way he returns to the Giants.
No, I mean, I'm surprised he even labeled the Giants as a team he wanted to come back to at all, to be honest with you. Knowing the situation here, he might know a few guys still on the team, but this team needs maybe another year. And they need to get rid of all, the rest of the roster that's not helping them out, right? So,
and I think when he made that proclamation, I think the Giants were 7-1 or whatever, and I think that's 6-1, whatever it was. So he saw them as a contender and a way to get home, maybe right some wrongs. I mean, he didn't have a great finish here, like he did in Cleveland. But I think he gets to the Cowboys, and the Cowboys now are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. This team they've already got some weapons. We worried about their weapons early in the year. At least I talked about the lack of wide receivers, but now that Gallup and Lamer both help, they're playing well. They must have 10 tight ends on this team. Every time I look up, there's another tight end doing something great. And Schultz is really, really good. Plus, gosh, who could run two guys out there like Elliott and Pollard? This is a really good football team.
Yeah, and they're doing a good job balancing out that offense. And not having Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott too much in a blocking scheme. You don't need those guys in a blocking scheme at all. Even if it's a chip block, you just get them out in space, get them running, get them going forward. And that the tight ends that they got in there, they do a lot of the hard work. And every once in a while they'll get a pass, and you don't know who they're going to go to, which is not bad. And then the only thing that Dak has to do is just calm down and make sure that he throws the ball away a little bit more. There was a couple of interceptions yesterday, but I'm glad that didn't affect him, and that just means that the Giants they just were incapable of being able to step up and score. You see, the Giants were doing great coming back from games, and they can't make that their business call. That can't be a calling card.
No. Again, we talk about that a lot. Even in college, I've talked about it with TCU. So sooner or later, it comes back and bites you. And now it's caught the Giants a few times here in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
So. Especially when you don't have weapons.
Yeah.
Again, people get on Daniel Jones. But as far as I'm concerned, Daniel Jones did everything he could do to help the Giants in that game yesterday. I don't know what more he could have done. A couple passes that weren't on target, maybe, as I said. But they weren't going to make the difference in this game. The Giants' skill position players just are not good enough outside of Barkley. And if he's only going to get, what did he get? He only got like 15 touches all day.
Yeah, he's got to get 20. He's got to get 20 plus.
Yeah,
and he's got to get them early, and that didn't happen at all. So
Jones only gets sacked 3 times. His escapability helps them, right? I mean, he did get pressured a lot more than that.
Yeah, and look,
takes good. No turnovers.
Dallas comes in with a decently ranked defense. It's not like they're not good on that side of the ball. So, if OBJ came to the Giants, it wouldn't make them a contender. It'd be like OBJ being on the Cleveland Browns. Like, he would just be there running routes and upset that he didn't get the ball because.
Listen, I am never been an OBJ fan. He's a great player, but he brings a lot of other baggage with him. Anthony, you're right. He would be the number one, but he's not a number one receiver anymore. But he would make this team better if he came here and didn't cause any problems.
No, but see, the thing is that they would still put one. They wouldn't double him because he's not as dangerous as he used to be. First of all,
well, that's good news, though.
Right. And yeah, that might be good news, but if they don't double him, then it doesn't matter at that point because there's nobody else that Daniel Jones can throw to. Was Galladay going to come back and actually start playing up to his contract? Probably not.
Who?
So, Galladay.
Oh, Galladay. Sorry, I thought I heard you say Daniel Jones in there somehow. I guess it's just I'm programmed to hear Daniel Jones when we're talking bad about the Giants. Galladay's a waste. They should cut him tomorrow. He didn't even get was he active yesterday?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I hope not, because he didn't have one target if he was. So he better be inactive.
Those are two most New York worst picks were picking up the wide receivers, Galladay and for the Jets, Corey Davis. It's just two horrible contracts, and it's hard for them to get off of those contracts. So,
well, Giants have some other places to go, though. Unfortunately for them, I'm sorry, the Jets have more other places to go. The Giants don't.
Now, I think they're both on the same boat. I didn't expect much from them this year, and we'll see what happens. It's getting towards that time of year, so.
Let's talk about the Bills and Lions. The Lions, listen, are an improved football team. I was impressed with their defense for part of the game yesterday. They made it too easy for the Bills at the end of the game yesterday. But their defense as a whole played a bit better. Jared Goff, and the Buffalo defense was not that good. They made Jared Goff look like Joe Montana at times yesterday. And he's had a decent season. But, the Bills, again, they're walking the tightrope wire as well. This game should have gone to overtime. Josh Allen is a tremendous – his arm looked much better yesterday than it did last week, even with just 4 days in between these games. They did run the ball better. I know that's one of your things with this team. Singletary averaged 5 yards a carry yesterday. And Allen, again, was just tremendous. But this team's got to play better than beating Detroit 28-25, I think.
Yeah, and kudos to Detroit for even matching up with the Bills right now because they're coming off a lot of injuries. They had players that couldn't play as well this week, but no, the special teams, man, kicking the ball.
Oh, special teams everywhere. My God.
And you know what? I mean, that because the defense held the Buffalo Bills about 3 times near the end zone. Josh Allen threw a couple, gimme picks, and you gotta convert on those, especially if you're playing the Bills. And too bad that defense, didn't get what they were supposed to get, but they got close, and they shouldn't have been close at all. So the Bills have problems that they got to fix. And that secondary didn't look strong at all, and you could tell that they're missing some of their players in the secondary. They lost one of their major players in the secondary. So they have a long road ahead of them, and if you pick the number one and to go to the Super Bowl, you're gonna probably get a stroke by the end of the season because I don't feel like it's gonna happen. And the other night I was on with Mr. Ashton, and he talked about how Allen might be missing Daboll, somebody consistent, somebody helping him, maintain his game and getting better at his game and his skills and working on, things as a QB. And, he might have touched on something there. What he's had an interception in the last 7 games, at least one.
Yeah, they turned the ball over a lot.
And that wasn't what he was doing last year. And then the year before that's what he was doing. So, maybe he's starting to miss Daboll, but he can't depend on anybody to help him. He's got to step up. He's the leader of the team, and he can't think about just rushing for 60 yards, but then he can't sit there in the pocket with nobody to throw to and stand there and hope that somebody's going to get open either. So
I mean, that's when he takes off with 10 carries for 78 yards. Those are designed runs for the most part. So.
Yeah, but if they're not designed runs, he has to either take the ball and scatter a couple yards or get rid of it. Yesterday you could tell he was very indecisive, and that's not good. And that's not the Josh Allen that Buffalo fans are, were ready to see at all at this time of the year. So it's going to be a long road for them trying to get, maybe through the first half or to a playoff.
Well, you got 6 games to get things right, so there's a lot of time to fix.
Well, they end up getting Saffold to using the running game, which they kind of used them. I mean, they're running the ball a little bit more, but you need production, man, and you need protection, and it's in the middle of the season, and now they're starting to again fall, starting to tear apart, and I keep telling people this is the Buffalo Bills, man. That's what happens.
Well, the defense, you know what? People question what the effect that Von Miller would have on his defense. And I think you saw they didn't play well after he went out hurt yesterday. And I think has a big impact on this defense, even if it's not, as much with his talent. He's diminished talent wise, obviously, but just his presence on the field and his leadership, I think, is important to this team.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, so you lose your star cornerback or part of your secondary. Now you're going to lose your star who, even if he's not the best player on the team on defense, he is a great player on defense. And so who's stepping up on that defense now, Because
Allen continues to promote the Lions, who are his dark horse pick this year. By the way, if they won yesterday, Allen, they would have still been in line for a potential playoff push here. But
they keep falling short, man. They keep falling short. I was big on the Lions last year coming through and to be good this year. And since the beginning of the season and all those injuries, man, it's been a tough road for the Lions though, because they're talented and they look like, and the team goes out there and they play hard, even with what when they string together, lineups and stuff. So, you could tell the coach has them motivated. Yeah.
So. And by the way, Hendon Hooker is not going to be a first-round draft pick next year, Alan. No way. I don't think. Will Levis likely will be, but he's hurt his stock here the last month as well. And by the way, this team, I'm not the biggest Jared Goff fan in this team, but they need defensive help more than they need offensive help. So that's where they ought to concentrate on that side of football with their high draft picks this year, I think. Do we think, I'll say, is Allen's arm still injured? I think a little bit, but I think I saw less effects of that arm injury yesterday, so there's no reason to think he won't be full strength here in another week.
I think his morale is a little bit injured, and I think that fact that they have to keep the ball longer on the field and take that time of possession away so that the defense can rest is hurting them. So that what they should do is just attack and try to score 27 points, 27 plus points as fast as possible. And then, the defense come up and maybe stagger in a few times. Because if you don't put those points up, you're going to have these close games and you let Detroit stay in the game. Come on, man. You can't do that in playoff in the AFC East.
I don't know why. And again, maybe it's a little thing. I thought they stayed in Detroit, and I don't know how much effect this has on the team, but I don't know why they went home. You're only going to be there for, 4 more days after playing there last Sunday. They flew home to Buffalo. I'm not sure why. Maybe because players need to get home and, get things straightened out after that huge snowstorm. But it just seemed a little odd. Why not just stay there? But,
yeah, and it's not just those kind of things. It's like, the morale right now in Buffalo is like they know that they can get beat. And that wasn't their morale in the first three games, first 4 games. It was like they were high on top. So it's starting to take a toll on them, And when you got that little voice in your head saying, "Oh, in the third quarter," that's not a good voice to hear it, So,
a month ago, I would have said my team couldn't beat this team at all this year, but I'm confident they'll be in both of the games they played it now. I mean, look, and we'll move on to the Vikings and Patriot games. You talk about a place where special teams just killed the Patriots all day yesterday. 100 and I don't know what it was. Kick return was it 100 yards? I don't even know. But again, bad block in the back there. But the Patriots got away with one last week. You know how I feel about that. And as it was said on the telecast last night, Bill Belichick will tell you can't get held on that play. So kudos to the Vikings. They played very well on special teams, and the Patriots were just awful. And why on that last drive, Jones is returning a punt from the goal line is beyond me.
Yeah, he should have just let that bounce in, right?
At least you get – I mean, not that they had much of a chance at that point, but at least you're
at that much time.
And not the one. I mean, good God. So it's just awful on special teams for the Patriots yesterday. Now, and remarkably enough, the offense finally showed up and played well. Mac Jones played really well, threw the ball really well all day. The receivers weren't a lot of help in some cases. Near the end of the game, they had a long pass with a chance to tie the game, and Nelson Aguilar didn't have a clue where the ball was. And Mac Jones made a great throw towards the pylon near the end zone, and Aguilar's got no clue where the ball is.
I think he was giving up on that throw. I think he lost it in the lights, to be honest with you. Because that was a high throw Mac Jones actually put some mustard on that.
He had he threw the ball down the field as well as I've seen him throw it in the 2 years he's been in the league. He threw it really well. Now they gave him time to throw the ball, which makes a huge difference. But what surprised me more than anything with the Patriots in this game, and again, they're going against one of the worst pass defenses in football, so that's one of the reasons it worked out this way. But they only run the ball 13 times yesterday.
Yeah, I was surprised by that.
I don't get it. I mean, I
had a running back there who was just getting hot, and all you had to do was feed him the ball about 5 or 10 more times, and you would have ate up the clock. And on top of that, you probably would have kept them from scoring a couple touchdowns. I mean, especially in the third quarter.
And plus, and
then you would have gave Mac Jones a little bit more confidence, right? Because then you don't have to. You're not forced to throw the ball on second and third down past the 10-yard line. You can make better decisions.
Well, he had a really, really good game. Ramondre Stevenson had a good game too. Kept mostly out of the backfield. He had 9 catches for 76 yards, but only 7 carries yesterday.
Yeah, should have been a few more.
Not going to win games that way, I mean, you got to be able to run the football, and you got to play better on special teams. Now, on the Minnesota side, Kirk Cousins played well. He broke his little nighttime jinx, and I will tell you, I'm decided there is no better player in the NFL than Justin Jefferson. That guy is just
unbelievable. He had like 3 plays yesterday that I was like, man, this guy's he's unstoppable. And you know what? The great part about what Jefferson does is that he gives Kirk Cousins confidence to be able to throw that ball because he knows Jefferson's going to be around. And he's also giving the confidence to the offense to be like, look, if Jefferson's going to get catches, I want catches too. Hawkinson played a good game. The second receiver for the Vikings, I can't recall his name right now. He played a good game.
Thielen had a good game, yeah.
Thielen had a decent game. I'm not sure why. I don't know if Kirk has lost confidence in Thielen, but I think Thielen doesn't get as many catches as he should.
Well, he got 9 yesterday, so that was a pretty good game.
Yeah, so no, I'm saying as a whole, but Thielen is he's one of those guys, and I think that's going to help the Vikings more and more as they keep running the ball as well. That Thielen can be one of those guys that if they're doubling up on Jefferson, he can go and steal a few more catches, and as well as the second wide receiver. I keep forgetting his name, but it's kind of exciting to see the Vikings do something, play well, especially after that whole debacle they had last week. So I was expecting more out of them, but when you get Kirk Cousins, just needs to get like a few throws in, a couple touchdowns in, and he's in a better mode. But when he's bad, man, he's awful.
Well, you're right. When things start to go bad early, they just get worse, like they did last week. So, and don't forget Hawkinson on this. I mean, how do the Lions? You never see interdivision trades in the middle of the season. How they traded Hawkinson to the Vikings a few weeks ago is amazing to me because he is one of the better tight ends in the game today too, and that's a great addition to that offense, who's already very good. So O'Donnell gets one up on his mentor, if you will. He was a former backup quarterback for the Patriots. So great job there. I have one other point I was going to make here, and I've lost it now. Again, special teams made a defense here. Oh, penalties. Somebody mentioned here. Let me go through some of these comments because somebody mentioned penalties. And week after week, this is what's very un-Belichick about this team. They get penalties every week that are just killers, and it happened again this week as well. And it's something that's got to change.
And people always say, oh, the small things to get your team better, and you got to practice. I think the Patriots are the mixture of the youth and that and the in the anxiety, being anxious and just go mode and trying to make plays and do well. Also, even to do well for your coach, because you got a coach and and for your teammates, because you got a team that can compete. So I think that will go down maybe in a year or two as they get older, man. And then they get into the system, and then they get into the groove of things. The Patriots have a good mix of players, but they have a lot more younger guys, and they're gonna be okay. They're gonna get better. So
yeah, I agree. They've gotten much younger this year. There's still a couple old guys there, but guys like McCourty bring that average age up. There's some young guys. The cornerbacks who we're really worried about are playing really good football. Jones did as well as he could have done against Jefferson yesterday. He played against him. He actually played very well, I thought. But again, he made some big plays that nobody was going to cover that guy yesterday on those plays. So
yeah, I mean, no, they get. Unfortunately for the Patriots, the talent rose above the game, and the Vikings had that on the ends of the wide receiver for the wide receivers. So.
Yeah, and lack of talent on the outside, too, also costs the Patriots. And you see it when you get behind and you need to make a big drive late in the game. That's where you see the Patriots and that talent level not being what it needs to be at the wide receiver position, in my mind. So
yeah, you're right.
And they do have a tough game next week. They don't get the full usually you play on Thanksgiving, you get 10 days. Well, they got to come back next Thursday against the Bills. So they've only got the regular week.
Well, it worked out for the NFL because both teams don't get the 7 days, so they're not making it unfair, No,
I agree. Morning, Kenny. It's not unfair, right? Because they both have the same thing. I'm just saying, usually those teams get the 10 days. And
yeah. It's the NFL now. They got 17 games, so they got to push them.
Alan's absolutely right with the penalties, as we talked about. The last drive, though, Mac Jones. You really thought I did not from the.
No, look, I like that the Patriots are sticking with Mac Jones. I like that he's you know what it is? This guy has a lot of like gumption. He has a lot of he's a gamer, and his mentality, it hasn't reached his skill level yet. And I think eventually it might match up because he has a lot of talent. And he's been in a lot of big games with coming out of college. And that's always been a knock about Saban, the guys that come out of the Saban groups for QBs, and coming out of Alabama. But I think Mac Jones
He's got a couple of good ones there right now.
Yeah, so I think Mac Jones has the possibility of becoming a good quarterback. Now, the question is who's mentoring him and who's going to bring him up, because that's they don't have Daniels there, and Josh Daniels, he ain't doing a good job in the Raiders, so. Maybe he comes back. Who knows?
He could be back. Who knows? And and by the way, Anthony, my comments are not based on a lack of confidence in Mac Jones. They just don't have the weapons to get the ball 80 yards in 40 seconds with 50 seconds with no timeouts.
The funny part about you saying that is that I saw him grab. He's walking to the huddle like I'm gonna do this, and that was good confidence on his side. Like you said, but unfortunately, the
sack right away took the wind out of the sails.
Right, and then when he got up from that, it was like I can't do this, and I don't have he's just looking around like who am I going to throw to or how am I going to throw it?
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, he comes back with a really good play on the next play, and the defender made a tremendous play, not letting the receiver. I can't remember who the receiver was now. Get out of bounds. I thought for sure he'd get out of bounds. What a great tackle! It was Peterson, I think, that made that tackle. Tremendous tackle, and then for some reason on the play with. Jacoby Myers just falls down on the ground with 1 second left. I'm not sure what he was thinking about.
Yeah, the whole last like a minute and a half, 2 minutes of the game, it was everything was going crazy. And I think if Jones would, if the players were doing what they were supposed to do, I think Jones would have looked better. And you could just tell that there's a lack of depth. Like you said, there's a lack of talent, and they can't, as much as what he wants to do and what he can do as a quarterback. It just wasn't a viable option for him,
I'll get back to that in a second, Kenny. And good morning to CA. Good to have you with us. Packers fans are crying collusion between the Lions and the Vikings. Come on, stop, just stop.
I mean, listen. If you're willing to give your player to an interdivision opponent, that has nothing to do with anything. At the end of the day, look, if you do it, you do it, and if you don't, you don't. But if your player wasn't playing good for you, it doesn't help you keeping them on your team.
Right.
There's
a play in the and I'll get back to Kenny's comment in a second because I did notice that too, Kenny. But before we leave the Patriot game, and we can backtrack to the Giants in a second, there was a play that really drives me nuts, and it was a right call. Hunter Henry's catch in the fourth quarter that was a touchdown that was called back because he didn't take the ball away to the ground. The rule to me is awful because if he catches that ball at the 5 and just is running and sticks the ball over the goal line, that's a touchdown.
Right.
You catch the ball, you've got control, it's over, it's broken the plane, you don't take it all the way to the ground, it's not a catch. Now, to me, those two rules just run contradictory of each other, and I hate it. And the NFL's tried to fix this, and they just haven't found a way to do it.
And I think it's more of like when you have control of it, what do you do? Like as you're getting control of it, it's too dicey.
But if I'm running the ball, the play's over as soon as the ball breaks the plane. He catches the ball, has the ball over the plane. Technically, again, if it's a running play, that
Right.
play's over. Done. Doesn't matter what happens after that because across the goal line, he didn't fumble it. When you catch it, and by rule, listen, I'm not complaining because by rule, they made the right call. I'm going back and forth in text with my buddy, Mark, and he's like, it's a catch. I said, no, he didn't control it when he took it to the ground. That's the rule. It's a stupid rule because, again, the ball had crossed the plane of the goal line in control of him, but he didn't know he'd crossed the plane. That was the problem.
Yeah, well, there was one like that was caught out of bounds last week. And then
every week.
Yeah, like it just seems like there's calls like that, and you can see that the player didn't have full control, but they called it. It was full control, and then the play went on, and those kind of things just take away from the objective of the game as far as like if you're trying to make these games higher scoring, then what are you doing? Make that a clean call, like you said. Don't make it so objective. Make it clean.
Well, he's still complaining this morning, but the problem is, by the rule, it's the right call, and I don't like the rule. I mean, but that can change.
It's all about the evidence, right?
Continued yesterday's games. I did notice this. Giants down 2 touchdowns. No sense of urgency at all, it seemed. Huddling up every play, not getting to the line of scrimmage quick enough, just kind of lollygagging. There's an old-fashioned term for it. Lollygagging their way up to the line of scrimmage. And I don't understand, and I see this a lot in the NFL, that teams don't seem to have the right sense of urgency, and that's part of clock management. And that's part of coaching. That's not, I'm not going to blame the players. That's a coach's.
It's also something about like making sure that you line up and you have the play, depending on the crowd noise, depending on the weather, things like that. But if you don't know what you're gonna do, you don't have any, you don't have the weapons, or you don't feel right about the call. It doesn't matter whether you're running up to the line or not.
Well,
like the teams that play the hurry up, Keith. The teams that play the hurry up there aren't that many that are successful doing it. Maybe the Chiefs after they start, after they're behind a little bit or trying to get ahead, the Chiefs do the hurry up. But there's maybe a couple more other teams, but there's not that many teams that can hurry up and do this well and do this well at all.
No,
so,
I agree. And again, coaches have got to do a better job of coaching guys up on this. What's this? Alan says, or have the whole foot inbounds to count as a catch. And that was the other play. And that was, what game was that? Was that the Minnesota game too?
With the Cowboys, right?
Was that the Cowboy game?
Last week with the Cowboys in Minnesota, yeah.
I'm guessing if Alan's bringing it up, it was a Cowboy game. You're right. I think it was.
That's what I'm talking about, where it was just like, he didn't have possession.
I thought that was a touchdown myself. It's a very the heel doesn't count, but the toe does. I mean, come on. I thought he had his toe in.
It's the fact that half of his body was out. That's the problem.
But
I mean, we can argue this left and right. It happened already, and we don't need to have these discussions. And the teams don't need to be. If I hate to say this, and we used to say this, we would say it a lot. Even last year, like you were going to win whether you had the call or not, and the other teams need to stop giving up those easy plays. So
now, again, what I will tell you is
you can't depend on penalties to win the game.
The grab and the hold on the touchdown return in a Patriot game, or the kickoff return in the Patriot game. I will never sit here and say that's why we lost the game. I mean, you don't lose, you don't put yourself in position to get beat by those kind of calls. And
there you go. That's exactly how we were saying it a lot. We said that a lot last season, remember?
I'll complain about the call and say they're bad calls, but I'm not going to tell you that's why I lost.
Yeah, we can't. You as an NFL team, you can't depend on calls, man. You got to go out there and do your due diligence and play all out.
Tony Dungy made a great point when Kyle Duggar got held on that kickoff return. He says Bill Belichick would not let them use it as an excuse. He would say, "Don't let yourself get held." So,
right.
Again, that's part of playing good special teams.
Yeah.
Is get in position not to have that happen. What else we got here? What do you got going on here? Going on early start today, company today. Oh, you got soccer and darts, man. You got a busy day.
Hey, listen, guys. 2:00. Okay, and I'm gonna verge on the World Cup here. 2:00.
You can do that. I'll allow it.
Eastern time. The USA will play England.
1, isn't it 1?
2 p.m. Eastern. No,
I thought it. I saw an ad. I thought it was 1 o'clock.
Yeah. But they will play
listings.
England in this game. If they don't score more than 3 points, they're going to be in big trouble because Iran won this morning against Wales, and they put up 2 points against them. So now all of a sudden, the amount of goals that you score and the winning and the points that you get from winning will start to matter the most. So the U.S. has got their back against the wall before they even start playing this game.
I'll be the first to tell you that soccer is not a game I get really excited about, but I do like the World Cup because, I'm an ugly American, so I want them to do well. Who surprises you the most? Is Iran the biggest surprise in this early going or not?
Oh no, not at all. I feel right now I've been watching the games and I'm a big soccer fan and soccer head. I would tell you this: the Asian countries coming out of Asia are doing a lot better than the countries coming out of our side of the world.
Japan's playing well.
Yeah, Colin Ball and CONCACAF. Their teams, mostly CONCACAF, are not playing well at all, and that's a big nod your head like, oh man, this is not going to look good for. So the Europeans have some teams that should have played better, but the Asian teams are stepping up. Korea, South Korea, and Japan play very very good soccer, and a lot of these Middle Eastern teams are stepping up the game. So the world is starting to be a little bit more parity, and some of these countries have more of an opportunity now. So it's gonna be a good World Cup. My favorite to win the cup is the Netherlands, and they're always going to be one of my top teams because that's the team I root for. Wow. But watch out, Belgium and Netherlands and maybe Spain. Some of these European teams might be the tops coming out. So
we'll put. How long does this go on? Is it like 3 weeks? I don't even know.
Yeah, it's 4 weeks. Yeah,
4 weeks. So we'll make sure that the next few Fridays we put a segment in to kind of catch up on the World Cup because Kenny wants to see. He'll probably complain that it's soccer. I don't know. He wants us to get into other sports. So here we go. We'll have a little segment on the World Cup in the next few Fridays.
But that's my segment for that. We can keep talking about the games coming up for the NFL. What we're going to see this Sunday.
Well, let's do this. I want to do something real quick. I want to look at the teams that are both. I was going to do 6-win teams, but since we've already started playing, I want to look quickly at the teams that have 6 and 7 wins and kind of quickly say contender or pretender. Right? So let's go through this list real quick. The Miami Dolphins have 7 wins. They're definitely a contender. Their Tua's really surprised me, and I have to again say I was wrong up through 10 games. Anyway, he's the MVP of the league.
The double duo of Tyreek Hill and Waddle is not to be overlooked. Yeah. That is one of the best tandems in the NFL. So
the Jets, we may stay on a couple minutes longer because I know we'll have a comment about one thing. Their 6 wins. Are they a pretender or contender right now?
Pretender, and it all falls on the back of the offensive coordinator. And the mess that is created there in the Meadowlands.
I will tell you that on the Zach Wilson front, stupid comment. I think he's benched, by the way, for saying, did you feel like you let your defense down? And he says, no. Even his father, did you notice there was an article yesterday I read? His father called him as he got on the bus and said, dude, what are you doing? He's got to say yes.
I saw a quick tip here. I saw an interview between Colin Cowherd and Mark Sanchez. And he mentioned something that was very important in the interview Mark Sanchez did. He's like, so because LA at the time that he played didn't really have a football team, the media was all about USC. And so he was in that realm of having to say the right thing, having to look the right way, and being a quarterback that runs that team, right? And when you come from BYU and you come from a conference that, and a team that's not to say that they're a terrible team, but it's not, the media is not there, and they're not getting all the focus, the main focus, because they're not a top 10 team, right? It's different. It's a different world for you when you become you go from college to the NFL, and then you're the quarterback of an NFL team. So Mark Sanchez saying that kind of made me, be a little bit more open-minded about what Zach Wilson's doing. But I have for the longest time not been a proponent for Zach Wilson, and I don't believe he's in the right situation. And I even mentioned on some of the comments that a player like Zach Wilson, Josh Rosen, those kind of kids coming out, if you see that they're lacking something, send them to Canada. The Canadian football teams.
That's not a minor league. That's not a minor league for the NFL.
It's not. No. And I'm not saying that it's a minor league system. What I'm saying is it gives the players an ability to be in a position, right, to play football and get all the skills set going, get their mindset going, and get their get their play in the right sense, so that if they can make it to the NFL, they've had something to fall. They've had something that
it's barely the same game, though. I mean, how many quarterbacks have come from the CFL and played well? Warren Moon and Doug Flutie. Who else?
I mean, but the idea is for them to get more snaps and get the game ready. Like, and if they don't come back, they don't come back. But they're at least in the system, right? They're at least playing football.
Listen, I will say this: I think the Jets have let Wilson down myself as far as his own development.
Terrible offense coordinator.
And it falls some on LaFleur. Yes, it falls on Saleh and the front office for not getting John Beck back here as his quarterback coach, who really helped him improve towards the end of last year. And I think was a good. Every team, every young quarterback needs that quarterback coach to pat him on the back and kick him in the ass when he needs whichever he needs.
Look, I think Beck did a good job for Wilson, and he did a good job for himself, getting himself another contract and coaching at Syracuse.
Yeah.
Look, at the end of the day,
you're an NFL team. You shouldn't get outbid by Syracuse, by the way. Just
right, and you shouldn't have a quarterback that needs hand holding. You should help the quarterback, but you don't need to hold his hand.
Tom Brady needed hand holding when he was a young kid. Come on, stop. You forget these guys are kids.
Belichick did the best thing for Tom Brady and giving him 3 or 4 defenses before he gave him 3 or 4 great offenses.
Kurt Warner did not play in the CFL, Alan. He went to Europe and played. So
he played in Europe and he played in Arena League.
And right, which is not anything like the NFL either. But the European League was played basically like the NFL is played. The CFL is a totally different game than the NFL.
It is, but the coaching and the fact of that the whole mentality of playing is what these guys, the stability that they need. Listen, if we want to talk about one thing that they did well, St. Louis did, was they played to his strengths when they picked him up. So they made the fastest game on turf, right? The best game on turf, right? So some of these coaches sometimes need to change their mentality and use their quarterback for the skills that they have, a la what's going on for the Eagles. So let's move on this list and see who we got.
Let's move on. We got the Patriots next. I'm going to say they're still a contender because I think 9 wins gets in. If 10 wins gets in, it's going to get a little tougher. But if it's 9 wins, they got wins against the Cardinals. I can call the Raiders and I think the Bengals. So
you're expecting the Bills to beat the Patriots to beat the Bills twice?
No, I'm expecting them to lose those games. I'm saying if I'm saying I need 3 wins to get the 9, I've got wins against the Cardinals, the Raiders, and the Bengals. That's my win. And I do think they can split with the Bills. So I think they can get the 10.
Ooh.
I think they can get the 10. They play. Listen, if I'm going to take something away from yesterday, the offense played really well. The defense let me down, let the team down because they've been carrying this team. And I think they put it together. They've still got a chance to get to 10 wins. That would mean either splitting with the Bills or beating the Dolphins at home and winning the games I just mentioned. So
those 3 games, from the 3 games you mentioned 3 teams that
2 of them on the road too.
Yeah, are on the ropes and they're fighting. They're trying to claw their way into a playoff. Yeah. So, I'm gonna go with you on this one, and for right now, I'll say contender. But if they lose 2 games, that's it. They're done.
All right, let's go. I missed. No, I lost my. Hold on. I lost my standings here. The Ravens and the Bengals 6 and 7 each. Somebody's got to win that division. I think only one of these teams makes the playoffs. Myself.
Yeah, I think the Ravens got this one. There's just not enough depth for the Bengals. They lost a few players through free agency and through and a couple injuries now. So
I think that singes on the health of Jamar Chase and that offensive line getting somewhat better. I'll give them.
I'm surprised the Bengals didn't go out and try to solidify that O-line with at least 2 more players. Golly.
Right. Titans, contender or pretender?
I got them going all the way. So I'm putting them
all the way. Wow, you do know Ryan Tannehill's the quarterback there, right?
I know, and he does need to play for a contract. So his back against the wall.
Well, winning a Super Bowl will get him a big contract. That's for sure.
That's what he needs, because if not, he's gonna come down like 20 grand easy.
Who's our other 7 win teams? The Giants, 7 wins.
No, pretend
I think they make the playoffs again. I think 9 wins gets in.
I just think the East is so heavy with Washington and
they got
Dallas.
They got the Eagles yet. They got they got 2 of the Commanders. So Alan mentioned, I think the Commanders may go by them as well. I don't think both these teams will make the playoffs. I think the Commanders. I said Commanders like 3 times there in one sentence. Oh crap! I've ruined myself now. I'm going to say the Giants. I think the Commanders sneak in the playoffs.
Yeah, we had Washington coming in, and both of our we have Washington coming up as at least a 2nd seed.
Name redacted. I like when else is name redacted. I like formerly known as the Redskins. That just tweaks people a little more.
Dan Snyder's.
I'll say the Giants out and the team formerly known as the Redskins in.
Right.
The NFC North is a runaway for the Vikings. Let's see. We don't even have a 5-win team in the North, but somebody's got to win. Probably the Buccaneers win by default. So,
you mean the NFC?
I'm sorry, the South, right? NFC South. We don't even have a 6 or 7 win team there. In the West, we got 2 49ers who seem to be trending up.
In Seattle.
And Seattle, who, 1 loss, but they could be trending down. Both these teams make the playoffs. 49ers are a contender to get to the Super Bowl, most likely, I would say.
The 49ers did the best job by getting McCaffrey and solidifying their
not a big fan, by the way, but
I know, but they solidified their depth. But again, they just keep getting into injury after injury, and I'm gonna say that Seattle will come out of that, and the 49ers won't. You can't be just depending on your defense. You got to score points. And Garoppolo and I still think Garoppolo and their coach are not in tune with each other. So
they definitely make the playoffs because that division's a mess. The Seahawks hang on, make the playoffs. I think they do because again, I think 9 wins gets in. I can see them winning 3 more games.
Yeah.
Before I leave, I would like to put this comment up that I missed. Nice tributes yesterday. All 3 networks, I thought, did a great job of giving tributes to John Madden yesterday. It's the first Thanksgiving we've had since he passed last December. I thought they did a great job. And listen, Thanksgiving for me growing up was John Madden, and actually not growing up, but in my 20s, I guess. He didn't really – it seems like he was there forever, but he was a coach till 1980.
Right.
But him and Pat Summerall were the voice of Thanksgiving for a lot of years in my 20s and 30s. So
yeah, I just miss having him around, talking about him getting to the turducken, having that big old table set up in front of his bus, his motor bus, and
the turducken. I wouldn't eat that thing. My God, at least
you fall asleep just slicing a piece right off.
At least knowing that a turkey with 4 legs even or 6 legs isn't like full of steroids is enough, I guess. But I'd be afraid to eat the damn thing. So,
hey, look, when he ripped off those legs and handed it to the best player, that was cool.
Right. Good morning, Neil. Good to have you with us. Fox needed the turkey and 6 drumsticks. Yeah. I think they all gave tribute to the turducken, though. I think they really did. And the turducken, by the way, isn't a turkey it's not a turkey with 6 legs. As you heard yesterday, it's a turkey. What is it? It's a
turkey, duck, and chicken.
It's right. It's a chicken stuffed into a duck stuffed into a turkey. That's the turducken. See, I don't like duck. I'd be afraid of getting that duck leg, and I'd be like, "What the hell am I eating here?" All right, so we'll get into this more. I was kind of just looking at that group of teams this week. We'll get in more to the playoff predictions as we go forward. Alan, I'll give you the choice here. We've probably only got one more segment we're going to get in, either NBA, which I have trouble talking about, but we can talk about it if you want, or college football.
Let's finish up with football and let's see what we got going this weekend.
So huge weekend, obviously, in college football. We all know where we stand with the rankings, and we can touch them as needed. But This weekend, we start with the only game you can start with is Michigan, Ohio State.
Michigan, Ohio State, the heartbreaker of television media. Let's go.
Listen, it's a debate which one of these teams. I mean, it's constantly. Some people think that Michigan's been more dominant. You look at Ohio State's scores have been wider in gap, especially in the Big Ten. Both of them have played shaky out of conference games, although Notre Dame is on Ohio State. That gives them a leg up. Yeah. This game's played at the Horseshoe, and I think that's going to be the difference here. That in the quarterback. C.J. Stroud is better than J.J. McCarthy, at least as of today. McCarthy may be better going forward. Michigan gets behind. They're going to have trouble throwing the football, and I think they will get behind in this game. Ohio State wins the game, puts themselves in position for the college football playoff.
The key for Michigan to win this game at the Horseshoe is running the ball, controlling the clock, and just keeping Stroud as much as possible and sitting down. Because that OSU defense, they seem to get let up.
They're better, but they're still not great.
Right, but they have strings in games. When I was watching that Northwestern game, I was surprised that Northwestern even was hitting them in the face. But Northwestern was running the ball great. They run that whole Army offense, and it was just running and they were running it down the throat of Ohio State. And I was like, are they making this a game? I was kind of surprised because they scored, twice in the first half, and then all of a sudden you saw in the second half Ohio State you do what Ohio State does, but there's some games, like you said, the Ohio State and Michigan have been in and out of, and then they come through and win these games. Michigan can't make any mistakes, man. They got to run the ball, and they got to make sure that they get their first downs. If not, this is going to be a bad game for them.
You pick Ohio State then?
No, I want Michigan to win.
You want Michigan? All right. Two questions.
Yeah.
Can the loser of this game make the playoff?
They'll make the playoffs, but they won't be,
You're saying they will make. So that was the second question. Will they? They need help.
Yeah, I think they'll get the help because of the conferences like the ACC and the SEC having some of these teams just wrecking themselves and losing some of these simple games that they got coming up. And I don't say simple like these teams to just win above and way above but for a team like Tennessee losing to South Carolina, it's not a good fit, So
you're gonna say you say the loser team gets in. Let's assume, right? Georgia's in. Assume TCU runs the table.
Ooh.
Ohio State. Let's just say you say Michigan wins. Just say Michigan wins.
Mm-hmm.
So those three teams are in.
Mm-hmm.
Now it becomes Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say LSU or USC wins out.
Yeah, USC.
You're taking a one-loss Big Ten team in Ohio State that didn't make their conference championship game over a Pac-12 champion, one-loss USC team. That's what we're saying if things play out. Now, obviously, things are going to happen, but
right, things are going to happen, and I think it will happen because of because the execs that run the board, they're all about media, and even though USC is in LA, their whole alumni and their the way they have their football, which is very historic as well. They cannot match Michigan. I mean, Michigan has.
Forget about Michigan. We're talking comparing. You said Michigan won, so
in Ohio State, even with the whole Ohio State.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think the voters would rather see Ohio State than USC. To be honest with you.
Shocking. All good for me though, because I want to see the 12-team playoffs sooner than 26. So
I don't see TCU running it. The quarterback's good, and I keep rooting against him. But man, he's if you guys haven't seen TCU play, you watch this quarterback, man. He's resilient.
Well, they walk the tightrope every week. So
yeah, he's resilient and he's a go-getter, man. He's got moxie, man. This guy's gonna be.
You love him, but you don't think they're gonna win out.
I don't. They just played too close, man. Did
they beat Iowa State this week?
I don't think so, man.
They're better off if they're going to lose a game. They're better off losing Iowa State than winning the Big 12 championship game. If they lose a Big 12 championship game, they're out.
Right.
in my mind.
Yeah, no, I think you were right when you mentioned that on Wednesday. I think
Yeah.
you're right on that.
So a couple other big. So I'm going to take Iowa State to upset TCU as well because Iowa State has had a down year, but it's still a good football team. Very good defense.
That's a trap game for TCU.
Yeah, well, they've played a lot of trap games and they've got by them all. Notre Dame at USC. This is going to be a good game. This is a good game for USC's resume.
Right.
I think USC wins this game. I don't think Notre Dame's going to score the most points they scored all year, probably, because USC's defense is just awful. But I think USC handles them here and remains in this playoff race.
Yeah, that's going to be a good game to watch, Sarah. So, you guys get your popcorn ready, and fans of Notre Dame and USC get ready to just scream because they're both going to give you hard time.
Here's an interesting possibility. So let's just say TCU loses and USC wins. In the poll next week, does LSU go to 4 or does USC go to 4? USC's 5 now. USC's 6. I'm jumping LSU with USC. I'm putting USC 4 if TCU were to lose.
No, I
shouldn't take it. They'll both be. I take that back. They're going to both be in the top 4 because Ohio State and Michigan, one of them's going to drop out.
Right. So if USC wins, then USC goes up above LSU.
I guess it doesn't matter. Well, maybe that's the question. Ohio State, Michigan, close game, last minute field goal, whatever it is, overtime. Does the loser even drop out of the top 4?
Yes. Well, not.
Depends.
It all depends on what happens to TCU.
If TCU loses, there's a chance the loser of that game stays in the top 4.
Right.
See, this is the chaos that I want. This is the chaos I'm looking for. LSU's got to go to Texas A&M. They lose, they got no shot now at the playoff. They're not going to beat Georgia anyway. I don't think there's any way. I think Texas A&M could beat them, but I don't think it will be. Clemson, who's still technically alive,
under the radar, which is that's where you want to be, because
if some of the things we just talked about happen, they're in the mix for sure. If they win out, and I think they're going to put a hurting on South Carolina this weekend. I think it will be a big spread.
Yeah, I hope somebody beats that team. I'm getting annoyed by them, but this ACC team, these ACC teams, though, there's a dime a dozen that are actually any good, and they have to fix this up. They got to do something to get this.
Before we wrap it up here, we got some comments here, so let's get to these before we run out of time. What do we got here? Oh my God, I got a bunch of them. Mississippi upset Ole Miss yesterday. Ole Miss is on a downside. I even overestimated. Ole Miss was a bit overrated. I think their schedule early on kind of.
I didn't like that, and I don't like their coach. So
Anthony Price not happy about Oregon falling out. Listen, Oregon State's going to be a good game this weekend as well. Oregon State's played really good football, and that Oregon State beats Oregon. That really boosts USC's level of opponent as well. TCU for CA.
Well, you know who has to play out too, and they're going under the radar is Tulane.
Tulane's this is a big game in the AAC, surely for that near 6 bowl possibility. It's a mess. I mean, there's all kinds of possibilities. So mess. I can't even get into those. I guess we're getting.
That's a good thing. Everybody's got leftovers, and if you don't, man, go find a bar and a restaurant that you can get crazy at, because there's going to be some crazy college football games.
Michigan may need, I don't disagree, Neil, that they may need USC, TCU, and Clemson all to lose for Michigan to get in if they were to lose this weekend. I don't necessarily disagree. Assuming ASU wins.
ASU,
don't know what that one is at CA. Unless you're a majority of ESPN crew, you feel TCA listen, not everybody thinks this way, Alan. I mean, the SEC elitists, we know John DeLong thinks they should be out. There's no way they keep a 13-0 TCU out. It will not happen. And it's ridiculous even to think it will happen, because it's a Power 5 conference and you're 13-0. Will they get beat in the playoff? Probably get killed. And Duggan is tough. Neil's adding South Carolina will do everyone a favor and upset Clemson. You're wrong there, I think, Neil.
Neil, I mean, they messed up.
Clemson needs the style points, man. They need a win similar to what SC did to. And don't compare this with Tennessee last week, because Clemson's got a better defense. DJ's playing much better quarterback, and I think this team will beat this SC team by about 30 because they need the style points. They really do. Upset Vanderbilt over Tennessee. Not even an upset anymore. Vanderbilt's the hottest team in the SEC now. All of a sudden, after losing 26 in a row, and Tennessee's without their starting quarterback, and they got nothing to play for. I could see this team losing easily Sunday for sure, or Saturday. Sorry. That's it. What do you got? What else you got for us before we wrap it up here?
No, just if we talk soccer or whatever we talk, everybody just enjoy your whole weekend with your families and friends. And watch out. The next week is going to be great,
3 more great days of sports coming up here, guys. Enjoy it. Get your Christmas lights up. Now it's okay. You won't kill any more elves if you light up your Christmas lights.
Take your shelf on elf.
I'll be doing that in the rain today.
Get your elf on the shelf ready, man. Let's go.
Guys, have a great weekend. Keith Angle for the Mad New Yorker. This has been Are You Serious? We'll see you next week. Have a great day.
Have a good one, guys.